For the last 23 years have seen the same political establishment rule Lagos State in southwest Nigeria. And of course, with Nigeria and Africa's most populous city at its center, Lagos State is one of Africa's most prosperous urban centers. It, however, has a mixture of the jolly upside of life and the ruins of poverty and lack. It is the dream of many and the dreaded place others only see in their nightmare. Governing Lagos has brought popularity to its past leaders, and there has been consistency in where Lagos State governors emerge. While many credit this to the growth and prosperity ascribed to the state, others blame its cracks and infrastructural inadequacies for the lack of competitive governance. Various forces are rising against the old order in the state, and some of these candidates believe it's high time Lagos experienced fresh political hands. It's an arduous task by every means, but they are unperturbed and resilient in their charge. Well, we'll listen to them today as I engage them on what they're bringing on board differently, the enormity of their task, and how they plan to cause what will be, if successful, a significant upset. Joining me live in the studio is Kunle Uthman. He's the Social Democratic Party Lagos Governorship candidate. Good to see you and thanks for your time.
Sulaiman, good evening.
Well, a lot of people are excited across the country, not just in Lagos State, because for the first time in a long time since the advent of democracy, since 1999, they're getting to see the incursion of a lot of people, a lot of political parties. Even though it wasn't a two-party system, it got to a point a lot of people thought it was a two-party race. Now, the SDP is making an audacious statement here in Lagos. Let us in on what the SDP. First, why are you running?
First and foremost, I am an indigene of Lagos State, both sides. My father is from Lagos Island, the Onigunu family. My late mother, also from Lagos Island. She was of the Akesode family. So both ways, I'm a Lagos State indigene. And more importantly, I was born in this city. I lived all my life, apart from in and out infractions in Lagos. I attended the Ireti Primary School in Ikoyi, from where I proceeded to the Methodist Boys High School in Lagos Island. I also attended the Federal School of Arts and Science in Victoria Island. So you can see I'm still in Lagos. And the first time I left Lagos was when I went to the University of Benin as the pioneer law student in 1981. And when I finished my law program, I came again back to Lagos. And I've been living in Lagos. I've been in and out. I travel abroad. I go for international conferences. I do what people do. But Lagos is the only city in the world that I know best. I can feel the pulse of the city. I'm spiritually attached to the city, and I can connect to Lagos in all aspects of Lagos State. I'm very vast with Ekpe. As a young child, we used to go there. My mother and I would go and buy fish, as and when Mrs. Street, Badagry. Yeah, in Ekpe. And Badagry was the coconut groves, so we go there to buy special coconuts where you make Adiagbon. And Ikorodu, we also go there because some of our people, they married from Ikorodu. And Lagos, I know it from all the nooks and crannies of the city. So I grew up here.
You know, listening to you, I know you have some nostalgic feelings talking about, moving to Ekpe, the fish market with your mom, and also talking about Badagry, Ikorodu. Are you one of those who think that there are some lost values, some lost essence in Lagos that should have been highlighted and properly embellished?
The word think doesn't describe it. As a child, I knew a city where I could go to the public tap and I would just wash my hands and I would drink water. I never had any fear of typhoid, yellow fever, there was water. The roads were properly tarred, and if they were to take light, they informed you in advance that there will be no light for X number of hours and light will be restored at the appropriate time. I also knew a Lagos that was very well planned, where people looked out for each other. They were each other's keeper, as it were, be your neighbor's keeper. I knew a city where, as young people, we could decide to go to the nightclub at 11 o'clock and we can still find transportation to get us there. The issue of safety was not in contention. it was a safe city. I also knew Lagos as a growing-up child where there was an hospital, maternity hospital. We had the one in Mercy Hospital. It served the indigenes of Lagos Island. And you could also have your child at Island Maternity. It was a good city. Everybody was very good, very friendly. Going to school in uniform, you paid close to nothing as a scholar's fee because there were scholar buses. And I could also remember later in life, when Jakonde became the governor of Lagos State, Alhaji Lateef Jakonde, I remember there were these ferries. You can actually go to CMS, you board Itafaji or Baba Kekere, and you will have a ferry ride. And in the morning, the ferries commuted people from those areas into Lagos. So I'm surprised that we are now in a more modern, in later years, we cannot improve.
So what do you think went wrong?
What went wrong is the state became a state under siege.
Siege?
Yes, and I use the word siege with a lot of sense of responsibility of what that state means. You could see that one particular party, a group of people, they have been in charge of this city for so many years post-democracy. And I think they've run short of ideas. Or they have also assumed that it is theirs for taking. So the question of trying to do what is right for the people and providing infrastructure is no longer their priority. They've gone, I don't want to use a very strong word, but they're short of ideas because there is a system that they have evolved. And that system involves cherry picking. When it's time for election, there is this drama that goes on, they do their primaries, they'll bring somebody, they say it is your turn to rule. It has become a turn-by-turn mentality. And you see, there's no city on earth. There's even no government that will install by turn by turn. I am governor today, Sulaiman, you wait. When Kunle finishes, Sulaiman becomes the governor.
Is that what's been done?
Of course, that's what's been done. You have had the triumvirate right from Tinubu down to the present governor. And you know that this particular governor, the drama that eroded his entry between himself and Akinwumi Ambode, who had only one time, was a turn-by-turn mentality. It's your turn, and it's there. And I believe that we're having this problem because it doesn't have the capacity, it doesn't have the background of rulership. Because what I can take from him is, before he became governor, he was the managing director of the Lagos State Development and Property Corporation. I also served with him because there was a time I was also in fascialized government as a commissioner in the Lagos State Judicial Service Commission. And we're the ones that prepared the mega city document. There's a document they call mega city document, which is the habitat law. And we also prepared, I was the chairman of the committee that prepared the policy control to cater for this issue of collapsed buildings in Lagos State. And you see, he was the vice chairman of the main committee, which was headed by General Rees. I was in the committee, and when we finished, I became the chairman of the committee that wrote the laws. And this was about 12 years ago. And I can tell you, the essence of the laws was for us to have the word mega city. It's not just a word. There are indices that will determine mega city. And one of those indices is population. You must attain a certain population threshold before you become a mega city. So people who complain that, no, there are too many people in Lagos, they don't understand that if we don't have that volume of population, we will not be able to qualify as a mega city.
But again, one would have thought that the Governor Sanwo-Olu will have a better understanding since he was also there when the draft mega city plan was being put in place with yourself. So what truly is happening?
For me, that's why I said it had become a turn-by-turn issue. Emiloko. I say Emiloko in Yoruba means my turn. So when a man say Emiloko, the man is cockishly telling you it is my turn to rule. Rulership is not turn-by-turn mentality. You see, what we tried to do in the laws is there was to make sure that buildings never collapse in the city. There is a procedure you follow. If you want to build, you get a survey plan, you seek approval, they give you an approval. When you get to floor X, they will come and inspect it. They will give you an approval. When you get to a certain floor, you must insure. The law in Lagos State says anything above 6 floors must be insured. So one day we sat down in our houses. 21-story building came down in Ikoyi. 21. And that sent shock waves to the entire international community. Because Lagos then portrayed itself as a place where it is no longer safe to stay in skyscrapers. Now, the tragedy of that incident apart from sending shockwaves, it makes me in particular. When I found that happen, I was sick. And I made appearances just to let the world know that this government has acted irresponsibly. Because the evidence that came out, number one was how many floors were approved for that building. Later, we found out that it was 16 floors that was approved. So the extra 5 that was on top of the 16, making it 21, was an abnormal addition. So if you add a foundation for 16 stories and you put in place 21, the building may crash, it may come down, and it did come down. Number two, it was also established as a fact that there was a time they put a stop order on that building. Stop work. The reason why that stop work was put in the building was it showed signs of abnormality. Things were not going on right in the building. But somebody gave an order that they should open it up.
So I hope you don't lose your train of thought. So with a stop order, it then means that we had people, experts, who were actually following through, and they saw that there was a need for a stoppage of work on that particular building.
You see, when you are building, you know, that is quite high, 21. The normal thing will be there's an agency that ought to go there periodically. If you got to number 8 floor, they will approve for you before you go to number 9, number 10 as you are going up. You understand? It became obvious that the man in charge of that construction was banding names of government officials at the federal and at the state level. So he became a man who believed that he was not subjected to the laws of the land. Because as a matter of fact, the building was never insured. It was never, ever insured. So everybody who bought flats in that place, it was a colossal loss. The monies were lost, and people died, if you remember. We don't have the figures now. Artisans died. People who are making construction died. Even the man building the property said he died. Do you understand? Let's not waste too much time on these 21 stories. Down the road, later, you know, somewhere around Victoria, Lekki, 5 stories came down. And recently, another 7 stories came down at Oniro. So it has become a state of collapsing buildings. How did we get to this point? Because you see, when you talk about a city of this magnitude within the context of international politics, Lagos is, we are famous, we are good people. We are people all over the world who are revered. We are intellectuals. Even the citizens of this city, we are intellectuals. We have some of the best schools in this country, in Lagos. Me, I attended the prestigious Methodist Boys High School. Before me, Nnamdi Azikiwe, Right Honorable Nnamdi Azikiwe, was in the school. The first governor of Lagos, Brigadier General Mobolaji Johnson, was also a student of the Methodist Boys High School. I went to the Federal School of Arts and Sciences. I went to the Primary School. Local, everything about me. Now, I'm faced with a situation, or we all are faced with situations, whereby we have to send our children to school and we pay 1 million. We pay 1.5 million. Some schools charge 1.5 per time. And some of them have created this novel idea of a development levy. You see a school that was built 20 years ago, there is no need for any infrastructure. They charge development levy. And this is because the government has failed.
So at what point are Lagosians understanding some of the things you've painted? Because we actually covered the 21-story building collapse and series of other building collapse. And it's good that you're saying that there exists a document, a plan to make these things, to avert these things, to make for a better city. And let's not forget, you actually started off by saying that you are a Lagos indigene.
Yes.
Does that imply that we have non-indigens at the moment or in time past that have come on the saddle as governors of Lagos State?
Of course we do. The fact that I'm an indigene doesn't mean a non-indigene may not rule. But it's only my indigenship makes me more of a stakeholder. Because when it is Salah, the people from other areas, they will go to their places to go and celebrate. And you find out that the city is practically empty and we can exist. But of course, the present governor of Lagos State is not from Lagos State. The one that is there now. It's from Ijebu Mushi in Ogun State. As a matter of fact,
it's not from Lagos State.
It's not from Lagos State. The deputy governor of Lagos State, the deputy governor is a prince of Iwekoro in Ogun State. Ogun State here. You remember also there is this gentleman, I think his name is Yai. He's the senator in Lagos State now, representing us. He says he doesn't like Lagos anymore. He has gone to pitch his tent in Ogun State where he comes from. You understand? So, but it's in Lagos now. There was also the case of a man, they call him Faleke, Honorable Faleke. Honorable Faleke is the one representing Ikeja constituency 1 in Lagos today. He went to Ogun State to go and contest as deputy governor, gubernatorial aspirant. While he contested in this election, he held on to the seat. The matter, when he lost, it went as far as the Supreme Court to declare him, it was not declared victorious. He still came back to Lagos. All the while he went through this trip, he was still in Lagos.
That was how Yaya Bello emerged. So when he lost.
Yes, when he lost. Now, the man who contested with him was Faleke. That was the deputy gubernatorial candidate. He came back to Lagos, and today, the man is still there, holding on to the seat in Lagos Assembly. So the question we need to ask ourselves, objective question, is where is Faleke from? He's from Kogi, and it was convenient for him to use the resources of Lagos to go on his voyage to Kogi and to return. We can't go on like that. We can't do that because from his own Kogi state, everybody that is there, governor, deputy governor, senator, they are all indigenous of the state. We have found ourselves in a situation whereby they don't allow us to brave. Because you see, the system is, when you come from a place, you are more of a stakeholder. The Lagos state is a hub. We want everybody here. We are very comfortable with the Hausa man in Agege. We are very happy with the Igbo man in satellite. First stack everywhere. We are happy with the Jebu people. Everybody comes here because it's a business hub. You need to understand, and I'm sure you realize, that there's water here. The government derives the commercial capital of Nigeria today is Lagos State. Abuja is the bureaucracy because the bulk of the money coming from other areas.
You spoke about the system. The system, and that's where the SDP comes in. What are those things you think your party, the Social Democratic Party, has, that can actually bring back first glory days and also ensuring that the system, some of the key things as highlighted when you served in series of committees that brought out, plans for a mega city as big as Lagos, can be, brought to bear?
Sulaiman, first and foremost, I have experience. I was in Shonekon's government as the personal assistant to the Minister of Transport and Aviation. From there, I became personal assistant from the Minister of Power and Steel. Me, I know the problems of NEPA. I also know the problems of transportation in the state, right? From there, as a lawyer, I was also gladly nominated by His Excellency Babatunde Raji Fashola, and I became a commissioner in the Lagos State Judicial Service Commission. So I understand the judiciary and the way it works. And I know that what we have is dysfunctionality. Dysfunctionality is what we have now. Why do we have Awuyaya Road there? I tried to go to Ekpe. It took me 6 hours to drive from Lagos to Ekpe. I live in Lekki. Now, on coming back, it took me another 7 hours. That means I was on the road 13 hours to commute from one local government to the other. The Awuyaya problem is still there. But Sulaiman, Lagos State, they have Dangote refinery in that place now. It's there. It will start work any moment from now. They also have the Lekki Free Trade Zone. It is there. They also plan to build an airport there. How do people go to those places? Because the idea of a coastal road they were supposed to build has been completely jettisoned. Now, there was this question of a fourth mainland bridge. Remember, Babajide Sanwo-Olu says, I'll put in place a fourth mainland bridge. The fourth mainland bridge is still in the drawing board. They are still drawing. I read some time ago, last week, that they have called for bid. All these are theatrical drama just for the purposes of election. We shouldn't have an election mentality. Government should not function from the perspective of election. Because the essence of government is well described, captured by Jeremy Bentham. He said a successful government is one that gives to the people the greatest happiness of the greatest number. It's a number thing. Nobody cares who's governor. Nobody cares who's president. What is most important and critical is that you have a president, you have a system where people are thinking for the people.
And isn't that why you have a team of, professionals, a team of technocrats working with you, just the way you served as commissioner? He also has his own team working to ensuring some of these things work. And so far, you've spoken about bid for the Fourth Mainland Bridge, and we also have to give it to this government. The water transportation you spoke about in time past is being revived and is back and running.
Sulaiman, please, let's be serious. You see, a ferry service is not the same as a boat service. I am sure you travel wide. I moved from Dublin once. I entered your license, a very huge ferry. I think it's about 5 or 6 stories. You could actually board a license in Dublin and it will bring you to London. You could drive in your car. The first 2 layers was car. You drive it in. When you get to London, you drive out. When you finish, you do the same thing. If Baba Jakonde, may Allah grant him eternal rest, could put ferries on the water, ferry that carried hundreds of people in his own area. And we have this joke, I want to call it joke, of some 20 carry boats moving from one point to the other. It's not a serious thing. That's completely bringing down the essence of progress. Sulaiman, His Excellency Babatunde Fashola started a monorail system in this city. And he had partially completed the monorail before he left office after 8 years. Mr. Ambode, who's also APC, was there for 4 years, right? That is 12 years. He didn't complete this monorail, right? The new governor, the man here now, is here for 3 years plus. He did not complete it. He's now hurriedly, because it's time for election, there's a frenzy to complete this monorail. Mono, I'm sure you understand Latin. Mono means one line. One line. That's a one-line train system. There's nowhere on earth people build a one-line train system in 2022. What you normally have anywhere in the world is a transport hub. The hub means that it's an intersection. There should be a rail going...
Sorry to cut you there, because we're almost out of time. And that's why one of the things that Lagosians and Lagos need. People still think that the Agberoism system of transportation, you spoke about the hub. So how do you hope, if the people now say, SDP, we need you, and here you are, how do you get off the Agberos,
I want to quickly...
the chaotic transportation scene?
I'm coming to that. But I tell you for free, as an SDP government, we have a master plan to ensure that we put in place a multi-rail system. So from Oshodi, you could board a train that will take you to Ikorodu. From there, you can take a train to Badagry. It's a hub center. We've been to Paddington in London before, I'm sure. In Paddington, you have almost 20 trains leaving Paddington at the same time. So this is how people think outside the box. That's what we need. That's number one. Coming to the issue of Agberos. You see, who is an Agbero, really? Let's try to describe him. Let's try to get into the mentality of his mind. He's a street urchin, I want to put it that way. He's also somebody who doesn't have the training, who is partially lazy, and who hangs around doing close to nothing for making money. No country should allow that to happen. At the Agbero in the parks, it's been factored in because these are people, when it's time for election, they use for political brigandage. When it's time for election, it's a collection of people. So when it is time for election, the rights are people that will threaten you, that are fighting people on the road everywhere. You must vote for the ruling party. Why do you have an Agbero in the park to start with? If you buy an air ticket, that ticket is a certain airline. They have their own money. They factor in the tax. They factor in the VAT. So that 70,000 you are paying doesn't go to the airline. It's possible that all the airline is going to have that 45, but everything is in that one ticket. So we need to conceive and create a system whereby in our motor parks we have this idea. The man doesn't pay to Tout 1. From Tout 1, he has to pay to one man who's sitting down doing nothing. We need to do what is right. And Sulaiman, coming back to the mega city, you see, mega city, what it means is this. There are thresholds, a series of conditions you have to fulfill. One of those conditions is a functional transportation system. Functional transportation system is part of it. Good hospitals is part of it. Good road is part of it. What do you mean by a mega city? It's a city where everything works. You understand? You can come into the airport. You have every what do they call wharf in the world. They have a train system.
So
look at the petroleum problem we have.
Let's close in a minute. Your conversation, your interaction with Lagosians and SDP, how is it going for you?
Oh, very well. Very well. Very well. The only thing we don't have, we don't have the kind of money that they have. And we are being frustrated. Because if you go into the street, everywhere, on this street, everywhere, You see, if you have performed, you don't need to do what they are doing. If you call yourself well, just continue doing the work. Every piece of space you have in this city is Sanwo-Olu, poster everywhere. All the billboards is Sanwo-Olu, then maybe with a local. So you see, we have been able to let them understand that governance is not in the nature of business as usual. We all have to work. My own determination to be governor of Lagos State and that of the Social Democratic Party in Lagos at the federal level is to effect a change. And it should no longer be business as usual. The two prominent parties that we are celebrating, they have failed us. Today, what is the price of the dollar, Sulaiman? On the road, there is no fuel. I had to kill 4 hours to get fuel to come to this station today. How did we get ourselves into this level? We must improve this country for the sake of ourselves, our children, visitors, and international community.
I think it's a fine place to leave it for now, because yes. I do hope that before the elections you find time to come again to the studios so that we can talk
Anytime
more
I'll be here.
And speak to Lagosians.
It's my pleasure.
Kunle Uthman, many thanks for speaking with us.
Thank you very much, Sulaiman.